Thank you, Eva, very much. By the way, you have a chance to raise the questions here as well. So maybe, Eva, can you remind once again, how to ask the questions? Because here we will take this luxury of actually answering your questions. Eva will pick 3 of them. Just to spice up our discussion.
So you can see someone asked me again how to ask the questions. Here is you can go to menti.com and put that number 88106596, or you can use a QR code and you can ask questions. So, and as Dagnija promised, this time we will ask 2 or 3 questions to the panel. I have the iPad here, so I will see your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So as you see here, there's a term in this panel, mission executive. How many of you have been participants of mission executive course? Wow, super. Quite a few of them. So those who doesn't know, actually this is how we started our Novatore community with BIBE. And when the second, third or whatever wave of COVID started, we realized that we want to have these discussions of empowering women anyway. So I said to BIBE, maybe we should do something in Instagram. She said, Instagram? What? But here we are. At this moment, there's already this 3rd mission executive course live in Instagram. 10 inspiring women leaders sharing their tips and tricks on leadership. So if you haven't signed up yet, you can still do it, and you can catch up for this last round what we have right now. But this mission executive course is organized and designed based on this, let's say, ideology, which was mentioned here as well. The idea is that we need more role models. And it's proven by different statistics and research that in order to succeed, we need encouragement, and encouragement in many cases is something that we look for in our inspirational models. And therefore, these women role models, these women stories are a very big part of our community building, and we see how much energy and spark it brings to our community. And this is also the way how we are organizing today this panel discussion with women leaders, women role models in their field. And today we will organize it around the term resilience, which is also part of the conference, very important DNA. Resilience. What does it mean actually? Honestly, maybe 3 years ago, I wouldn't even find appropriate Latvian word for that. I have a version now. But first of all, I would like to ask you, maybe first shortly introduce in 30 seconds, once again, who are you? And give your definition in what does it mean, what this resilience term means for you, and maybe some Estonian perspective as well. How you say that in Estonian?
Hello, I'm Hede, I'm change management coach, and for the last 2.5 years I've also been part of the largest hospital's crisis management team. So resilience definitely has become much more in focus than ever before. And for me personally, resilience is the ability to bounce back, the ability to do whatever you need to do, no matter how you get the feedback and how you sometimes really fall, that it's the ability to stand back again and move forward. I think it's really important, not only in those turbulent times, but always, basically, being human.
So it's like a ball.
Exactly.
That's how I imagine that as well. Do you have a good term for that in Estonian?
No, actually we don't. We should invent one.
Yeah, I'm a great believer that if you don't have a term in mind, then actually it does not exist in your conscious in a way.
We do try to use one which is called säilenõtkus, which is like, if you translate it directly, then it's flexibility to be sustainable. It sounds good, but it's not gone really into a larger use. So probably it will if we start using it more. Säilenõtkus.
Okay, thank you. This is really Baltic panel, as you see. So we have a truly Baltic representation, and hopefully next time for Novatore Impact Summit, we will have even more our neighbors joining us. Viktorija.
Hello, I'm Viktorija from Lithuania. I am a strategy, finance, and governance expert helping companies to grow as independent board member, external advisor, or interim manager. I'm also a community builder and networker, a member of a few great international NGOs from Lydere, which is somewhat equivalent of Novatore, and we have some members here, Baltic Corporate Governance Institute, to Rotary International, and in fact I was the first woman governor for Lithuania. And while it took for Lithuania 7 years since we became independent to have a woman governor, this year is very special worldwide. So out of 1.4 million members, and after 118 years, we finally have a global woman president. So that is definitely bringing a lot of change.
So it's the first time in history.
Yes, absolutely. And the good thing is, because as a part of the Global Membership Group Committee, we'll be discussing, do we need quotas? And I was suggesting we need not necessarily quotas, we need role models. We need to normalize women in power, women in hard positions. So I suggested, as we rotate every 1st of July, everything changes at every level. All leaders change. So let's have every second year, a man and a woman. So we did not imply a quota, but we have that as a fact. So this year we have Jennifer Jones from Canada. Next year we have a Scotsman from Scotland. And the year after we also have another woman, Stephanie Olczyk. So we are living that, and we are really bringing a lot of changes.
Can I suggest saying that in tough times, women take leadership?
Yeah, that's true. And when you speak about the definition of resilience, I would say that resilience is in my veins, and it's first of all about the mindset, never give up, keep going. And I have a saying that in the times of uncertainty, you need perseverance to keep going, to innovate, to look for new solutions. In the times of adversity, you need resilience. And Lithuanian equivalence would be atkaklumas and atsparumas. Probably it doesn't mean a lot to your audience, but we do have a word for that.
Okay, good. Valerija.
Yes, hi, my name is Valerija, and I am the country manager of the global IT company. So I'm the one of those few ladies who stand up, and I'm from technologies. TietoEvry, in total we are 24,000 employees all over the world, and Latvia contributes a lot to this success. We have here more than 1,000 employees in Riga and Liepāja. And I'm in my current role for almost 4 years, 5 actually years now. And I don't know, it's unfortunately, or I was lucky that this resilient state is already for maybe 2.5 and 3 years. And being a country manager of such a sizable organization is challenging by default. And these extraordinary circumstances what came and still are on the table, of course, make additional pressure. And thinking about resilience as such, for me, probably this is more like the ability to survive extraordinary events. And I would say that this resilience consists of maybe 3 major pillars of how you can operate in such state. First is accept. Definitely we should accept this extraordinary situation in order to lower the stress of the level of stress. I think as a leader, as a manager, we have an intention always to solve the problem, but there are very many problems we can't solve. We just have to accept that. And then the second stage is to adopt or to adjust yourself, your organization, your processes to this new situation, and then perform. And we are going again and again and again.
I think, yes, I totally agree that these last 2-3 years, it demanded a lot of changes also in terms of our attitude and mindset. And I remember that, and I really believe in this idea of mojo, like imagining who you are could help you to navigate through different life periods where you are. And I remember that before COVID, I imagined myself clearly that my mojo is unicorn. And when all this, because yes, we can, everything's possible, sky's the limit. I really like this attitude, and I was driving all the things around me based on that. But when all this started, I thought, no, unicorn attitude would not survive during all this crisis. So I took, and therefore I was very glad there were so many cats. And I chose cat avatar, cat mojo. Cat is independent, full of freedom. They fall, but they always survive, and they are not perfectionists. They experiment. What kind of mojo you think you become during these 3 years?
I actually really like your analogy of a cat. Cats really know how to enjoy life.
Yes.
I think this is one of the things which many women are missing or lacking.
Please write it down. Yeah.
Because when I think about women that I work with, or my friends, or myself, then when we look at the 3 really important areas of life, me, myself, my relationship, and my work or my self-actualization, then in the ideal world, we would put equal energy in all the 3 areas of life. But in reality, for many women, it actually ends up very differently, that a lot of our energy goes into relationship, or a lot of our energy goes into work. And we very rarely give something to ourselves, like something which is really for me, besides the work and relationships. And cats, they definitely do not have that problem. I have a cat who is 12, and I think everything revolves around her. She sleeps when she wants. She gets cream when she wants. She goes in and out how she wants. So I think we would all actually benefit from that mindset, that you have to also give something to yourself, some energy back into yourself. And cat is a very good example.
Yeah. Who from you are cat persons? Oh, good. And dogs persons? And in between? Okay.
Well, it's really funny to speak about the cats, and I'll probably then trying to differentiate would choose a black panther. But speaking of cats, I have a very funny and true story. I was leading international consortium, and we were bidding to advise on Belarus privatization. And as I was working on the final, stages, the cat of my daughter almost fell off the terrace, and we saved her, 3 of us, but we were badly beaten, and we've got, shots, and then I couldn't even work properly because my both hands were tied. And then I had still, as a consortium leader, to go in person to Belarus to deliver the documents, and I fell off the stairs because of a very unique and unsafe design, but I landed on my both feet on the high heels. So the story is a bit longer, but I can literally call myself a cat woman. But putting jokes aside, what I have a universal formula which applies to both my personal and professional life. If there is something that I believe can be made better, then I do it and I change it if that's important to me. And when I do that, I am resilient, I am persistent, I am creative and innovative, and in most of the cases I succeed. But if I don't, I know that I have done all what's in my power and even more. And then what happens, then I either change my attitude and see some other angle of the situation so that I don't feel the victim of circumstances, or I leave. Because this is also very important, the luxury and freedom to stay true to your values, always to be able to choose what to do and not to do. So that's very important, and that's part of my identity, of my character, and that's, as I said, resilience in my veins.
Right. Probably I can contribute to this cat society. I have 2 cats, very supportive ones, but apparently because I'm the only one who feeds them, because my family somehow is ignoring them. Yeah, I think this work-life balance is extremely important when we are going through these extraordinary events. And I maybe prefer to be, like a rational pessimist, like, let's call it so. I always try to imagine the worst case scenario, and I try to identify, so what is the outcome, worst one, and I try to imagine what is the plan, how to mitigate that. And of course, it should not be hard-coded plan, definitely not. It should be kind of flexible and agile. But when you have this plan in your mind, then you take everything, all changes much easier than it might be.
So it's also about having plan B.
Exactly,
in
but
your mind,
the
yeah.
worst, the really worst case, plan B.
I think, yeah, it's very important to have the sense of control, even if it's only essential level, but I think, as we all agreed, so much depends on what's happening in our mind and our mindset. But just coming back to these 2-3 years, which has been extraordinary in a way, and still we don't know what's ahead, even though I start thinking that I should start loving uncertainty, because it's becoming like uncertainty is the only persistent thing at the moment. But when we reflect personally during these last 2-3 years, what has, maybe you can share, what has been your, if you may, what has been your lowest, darkest point, and what has been your success formulas or strategies to overcome that? Maybe you can share some stories.
Happy to. Or do
Yeah.
you want to go first?
Okay, Hede.
I think for me, the toughest time I've faced in all my working life was actually the first wave of COVID in Estonia. When the hospital where I work as head of communication...
You just started working there?
No, I've been there for 7.5 years now, but I just graduated from INSEAD as a Master of Change, like February, and then flew back home, and we started the crisis team because the COVID was already in Estonia, and in 2 weeks there was the special situation, everything was closed down. And I think in the first 4 or 5 weeks, we worked basically non-stop with the executive team or the crisis team. We had no evenings, no weekends, no nothing. And there was just so much to be done, even if we had started preparation already in December in some ways. And I think the lifesaver for me was actually my husband, who took me out to eat. And like literally, he bought tactical food packs, basically, just like that. Camping food, and took me to the seaside or to the swamps and places, and forced me to leave the phone at least for 4 hours in the car. And that was how I started to kind of re-understand that there is life outside of crisis. And still, I would say that nature is probably the best way to build your own resilience, to take this time to look at things on a bit of distance. So that I would definitely recommend. And now I try to start all my days out in the nature. I just get up a bit earlier and do a walk. I live in a really nice area where it's possible, but nature is something which helps me to build my own resilience.
So lesson learned is, okay, nature and time off.
Yes.
And be grateful if there's somebody who can do it for you.
Definitely.
Okay, nice.
If nobody is doing it for you, then you have to do it for yourself. I mean,
yeah.
It's actually nobody else's responsibility. But
right.
even the best of us can forget that part.
Yeah. Valerija.
Yeah, actually I can compare myself in 2 situations. One was this COVID, and another one, the war. And when pandemic came into Latvia, we in our company were more or less already prepared, because we're like an international company with many offices. We knew how to respond. We had plans, and we already accepted that situation. So that was kind of positive example. And the lessons from there is find the support from your colleagues, learn the best practices, what you ever can find. To be prepared to some changes, let's call that so. But in case of war, I would say this was, for me personally, the darkest side, because we were absolutely unprepared. And probably, yeah, and the support from my, again, colleagues, from family helped really, really a lot.
But what do you mean by support? Can you
from colleagues, from professional side, then it's wonderful when you have a strong professional team. You cannot operate by yourself without the team. And if team is here with you, the team is ready to support, the team comes with brilliant ideas, then you will be fine and the organization will be fine. And the family, of course, when your family is home, and for my husband also, he told me, like, stop, it's 11 p.m., stop working, just try to switch on your attention to something else. That also helped.
Viktorija, what was your darkest moment and survival strategy?
I wouldn't call that even the darkest moment, but it was tough. And the thing which saved me was my many years of integrity, literally speaking. I received direct threats, and I had to hide my kids abroad even. And when I went to some lawyers, for advice, one lawyer who eventually helped me, I didn't know him before, but he said, words that, in fact, were very, very important, and they helped me a lot. He said, Viktorija, I've heard about you so many good things for 18 years. I will not allow to destroy a good person. And, he helped me, free of charge, because we had a quite nasty situation. And if I would need to pay lawyers' bills, it would really be like $1 million. But then, when you said, think about the worst scenario, I play chess since little. So I see my mind working as a chess game all the time. So there is, some framework. There are 64 black and white, dots. There are 32 figures. Every time they move, situation changes. And this is very much like in business. So I always think in multiple scenarios, not the worst case, but just in multiple scenarios. And I'm quick to make decisions and adjust. And when doing so, I never lose from the sight the goal, who is the king. And if you know those 3 major reactions to any stress, fight, flee, or freeze, so yeah, I'm a fighter. It's easy for me. And when COVID started, our family started on the kitchen table a global project, helmet-based ventilation, which really kept us busy, and we had no time to stress. We were saving literally lives around the globe. And when the war started, I did have conversation with, one day it was intense. I had conversation with 3 male friends who called me, and we spoke with each of them about an hour. He was saying, I'm probably not a proper man, because I care about my family, I care about my pregnant, fiancé. I want to take her abroad, but this is not what a man would do. So I had 3 hours of discussing with them that it's okay to protect your family, and when your family is safe, you can come back and, defend. But after that, I needed to watch funny cat videos online. So what I did, that was the second or the day of the war, I posted on Facebook like 3 points, what I would do, what I in fact do. And then some of my friends said, we printed that and put on the fridges, like 4 steps by Viktorija. So those 4 steps would be, first of all, discuss with your family and friends doomsday. So if that doomsday would actually come, what would you do? Where would you go? How you will find each other if you will get lost or if you will be disconnected. And when you have a plan, it really brings a peace of mind. Another advice was join volunteering efforts, because when you do that, you are among other people who are very committed, who are in the center of events, and there is a very good energy, and there is a hope that there are so many people around you. Third thing is disconnect from media. You don't need to read about the war 24/7. It's more than enough once per day, not in the evening, in the morning, when you are refreshed. Unless you need that info for decision making. And the fourth, just keep doing what you do best. Keep on in your business and your profession, because if you want to help, you need to earn. You cannot pour water from an empty, vase. So these are the tips. They are, I believe, universal. When you plan, when you are ready, you can achieve everything.
Yes, thank you for sharing all this, because I think that reflection time is also very important. And in ways, these last years were ugly and beautiful in the same time, because we had more time to think at some point. Myself, I think I developed this attitude towards events and what's happening in my life with this attitude like, oh, interesting, what this will bring now, you know, with this kind of curiosity mindset. Do not being so egoistic, like it's only around me, or it's kind of like, okay, being open-minded, curious, of course, thinking about plans, ABC, surround yourself with people, discuss, be open. But these moments, I think, are also very important for putting perspective for the future, because I think, of course, and now I feel there's this fear what's happening this winter season for different reasons. But I think it's also important that we keep this future perspective. And therefore, I wanted to ask you, as professionals, as leaders, as meeting different organizations, cultures, what do you think, what are the prospects of the future of work as leaders? How do you see that? Because, of course, the hybrid work, all this notion about the mental health, burnout and stress, which was mentioned here several times. Also, the ideas about the less work, I don't know, 4 hours, no, 4 days week, etc., etc. How you see what the future of work look like for leaders, for executives, for being female leaders in executive positions?
Well,
Valerija.
I can start. I think this hybrid way of working, what we're actually living in now, it will remain. I mean, this will be our new normal, and not only for leaders, I mean, for the society. I think COVID pandemic showed that we can work absolutely from anywhere. You need your phone, your laptop, and you are free to go. And I think this hybrid way of working gives us the flexibility, and we can actually, this is actually a brilliant tool how to keep work-life balance. At least what I see currently, this is exactly as it is. I can be a good mom, I can do my duties, and I can be also a leader, because I can organize my time. I'm always available, and I'm not stick to this, office. I should be at the office for 8 hours. It doesn't work like that anymore.
So hybrid work for you is with plus sign.
Definitely in IT.
Okay.
It's hard for me to say about the other industries, because definitely not all industries can allow that. But in IT, definitely, this is the way how we will move forward.
Okay, good.
Well, frankly speaking, I was working in a hybrid setup since my very first job. I was accepted to the investment bank, imagine, finance, 29 years ago, 2 weeks before my daughter was born. So you can imagine how pregnant I was, 8.5 months. And back then, I had computer at home. My job was listing companies on the stock exchange. So I would come to a client meeting with a trolley bus, with my baby in the carriage. She would sleep while I'm meeting the client. And when I come back home, prepare prospectus, I would come to the Securities Commission with sitting her on the lap. So I'm a strong believer that hybrid setup is good. We just need to learn how to work with it. And I've been working remotely for 12 years. So COVID for me was very good, because very many people understood the cons and pros of working remote, because prior to that, sometimes you could hear, like, you don't go to the fancy office every day. Are you serious enough? Yes, I am. But you have to know how to work. It should be different. If you apply the same methods that you apply in a regular in-person setting, in a remote environment, it will not work. And what I'm observing a lot, that some managers, some leaders who are forcing the teams to come back to the office, they do that because they're not good managers and they micromanage and they don't have processes in place, KPIs in place, and they don't have trust in place, trust in their people. I mean, of course, nobody stands behind your shoulder if you work from home, but if you have this culture of trust in your company, then you can achieve things together. And there are companies that are set from a very big outset, remote companies. So when there is trust, it's you can even have slip of the tongue, but you will be understood correctly.
Okay, so hybrid work is for it will remain, but it demands some it demands some skill set, right, as well.
And yeah, if I may, for the managers, of course, there is another side of the medal. There should be this personal approach and mental check if your colleague is okay. Because
Mental check. How do you do that?
Actually, I have seen in this yellow card, this is a very good question. How are you?
Yes.
Really?
How are you really?
Really. And this is exactly what we as a manager should do. We should ask how our colleagues are they okay or they are not okay. If the camera is off, ask to switch on the camera to see what is happening with this person, because very often we lose the connection, this personal connection with the colleague if we are working in that mode.
Okay, Hede, what do you think about the future of work?
Well, I'm absolutely sure that the meaningfulness and purpose and autonomy will become even more important for anyone. And not only because of the remote work, but also because of the upcoming generations who actually do want to work much less, but with much bigger meaning. And one of the things which this explosion of remote work showed us, which most of us didn't realize before, is how much more it demands from a leader or from a manager. The sheer workload of working with people increased tremendously when you have a team which is remote. The way how you have to understand your people, the way how you have to be able to connect with them, and how much time do you have to put into it. It's very different from the old-time work when the team is in one place. And I think more and more it becomes important for a leader to be full-scale psychologist, because it's not so much anymore, or maybe it never has been, about how you lead or how I lead or what is my personality type, but it's more and more about each individual in my team and what motivates them, and also the situation. So you have to be so flexible in your leadership doings that is definitely a challenge, which I think will keep all of us on our toes for the next century or something.
So it seems like a pretty challenging job for the leaders to be in the coming future, and actually it's time for us to wrap up. So thank you for sharing. But on the final note, would you recommend, and why, other women to become executives? Just state one reason why. Let's start with.
You shouldn't necessarily become an executive unless you want to, because you have the freedom to take decisions, but you have also a lot of responsibility, and you have to be able to carry that.
Okay.
I would encourage women to think about becoming a leader, of course, if you want to, because what we see is that very often we, ladies, we underestimate ourselves. But just give a chance to try. Give yourself a chance.
So let's try. And Hede?
Well, I think change is the only constant. And you can have either life happen to you, or you can be part of creating the change. And in any leadership position, you can take an active part of being the change, and also channeling the change. So why not take that opportunity? I think that's really valuable thing.
Yeah, just do it.
Exactly, just do it.
Just give it a try. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. You can all check at our novatore.eu website the current Mission Executive Program, and you can still apply. And I will promise that in the next few weeks we will also release archives of the previous one, so you can check all the archived videos and all the talks we had together with Baiba, with our leaders from Latvia. But we are planning, and again, and I like this. I like this what I'm doing, meaning that I'm throwing ideas, even if I have ready project already. It's like Francesca said that she organized a Kickstarter campaign even without having the book in progress. But we are thinking with Baiba to have the next Mission Executive course in English on the Baltic level, because we already have a pretty great demand from international companies, especially those ones which operate on the Baltic level, to have one in English. So fingers crossed that we could have the next launch in the beginning of next year. So go to our website, sign up for the newsletters, and you will be the first one to get the invitation to join. Thank you very much, and Mission Executive it is. Big applause to you.